Prussia. Prussia was not just another European state, it was the backbone of German unification and the symbol of militarized efficiency. Established as a kingdom in 1701, it expanded through disciplined armies, rigid bureaucracy, and industrial power, eventually leading the creation of the German Empire in 1871. Its influence shaped everything from compulsory education systems to modern staff-based military planning. Berlin, Prussia's capital, became the nerve centre of politics and strategy. By the end of World War II, however, the Allies saw Prussia not as a cultural region, but as the source of repeated German aggression. Its tradition of authoritarian militarism was blamed for fueling both world wars. Determined to erase it, the Allied Control Council issued a decree in 1947 formally dissolving Prussia as a state. Its eastern territories, including East Prussia, were transferred to Poland and the Soviet Union. The western lands were absorbed into West Germany. The name itself was removed from legal documents and schoolbooks. Today, Prussia survives only in ruins, museums and memory, not as a nation. East Germany. East Germany, officially the German Democratic Republic or GDR, was created in 1949 out of the Soviet-occupied zone of post-war Germany. It represented the communist half of a divided nation, while the West became the Federal Republic of Germany. From the beginning, East Germany operated under strict Soviet alignment, adopting centralized economic planning, one-party rule, and heavy surveillance. The ruling Socialist Unity Party held absolute power, reinforced by the Stasi, one of the most extensive secret police networks in history. The Stasi monitored letters, phone calls, and personal lives, ensuring loyalty to the regime. Daily life was defined by shortages, censorship, and restriction of movement. The Berlin Wall, erected in 1961, became East Germany's most visible symbol. It was designed to stop mass defections to the West and stood as a global icon of Cold War division. By the late 1980s, economic decline and growing protests eroded state control. In 1989, the wall was breached, and within a year, the GDR ceased to exist. On October 3, 1990, East Germany was absorbed into a reunified German state. If you're finding this breakdown helpful so far, make sure you subscribe to Crisis Logs. That way, you won't miss the rest of the journey, because after East Germany, we'll move into even more complex stories, like how Yugoslavia shattered into 7 new countries, and how entire superpowers like the Soviet Union disappeared. Stay with us as we uncover them one by one. Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was formed after World War I as a kingdom uniting Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, later expanded to include Bosniaks, Montenegrins, and Macedonians. After World War II, it re-emerged as a socialist federation under Josip Broz Tito. Unlike other Eastern Bloc countries, Yugoslavia remained independent from Moscow, charting a unique course through the non-aligned movement. The federation consisted of 6 republics and 2 autonomous provinces. While diverse in language and religion, Tito's leadership held them together. Industrial growth and relative openness made Yugoslavia appear stable, even prosperous, compared to neighbouring communist states. When Tito died in 1980, deep ethnic divisions resurfaced. Economic stagnation and unemployment fueled nationalist politics. Slovenia and Croatia declared independence in 1991, triggering wars that spread to Bosnia and later Kosovo. These conflicts involved ethnic cleansing, sieges, and international intervention. By 2006, the original Yugoslav Federation no longer existed. Its republics had become independent states: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Serbia. Kosovo also declared independence later. What began as a project of unity ended in fragmentation and war. Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia was established in 1918 after the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, joining Czechs and Slovaks in one state with Prague as its capital. Before World War II, it ranked among the most industrialized nations in Europe, producing steel, glass, and armaments. Politically, it was considered one of the continent's most stable democracies. In 1938, the Munich Agreement forced it to cede the Sudetenland to Nazi Germany. By March 1939, the remainder was occupied, with Slovakia turned into a German-controlled republic and Bohemia-Moravia reduced to a protectorate. After the Allied victory in 1945, Czechoslovakia was restored, but independence was short-lived. In 1948, a Soviet-backed coup placed the nation under communist rule. For decades, it functioned as a socialist republic inside the Eastern Bloc. The Prague Spring of 1968 attempted liberal reforms, but Warsaw Pact troops crushed the movement, reaffirming Soviet dominance. In 1989, the Velvet Revolution peacefully ended communist control. Just 4 years later, the Velvet Divorce divided the country into the Czech Republic and Slovakia, ending Czechoslovakia's existence permanently. Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, officially the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, was established in 1922 from the remnants of the Russian Empire. It grew into the world's largest state, spanning 11 time zones and uniting 15 republics under a centralized communist system. During World War II, it bore the heaviest losses, but emerged a victorious superpower, shaping the post-war order and leading the Eastern Bloc. The USSR operated through a command economy, one-party rule, and extensive surveillance. It competed with the United States in nuclear weapons, proxy wars, and space exploration. Its military and ideological influence defined global politics throughout the Cold War. By the 1980s, stagnation and corruption undermined stability. Shortages, declining productivity, and rising nationalist movements strained the federation. Mikhail Gorbachev attempted reforms with glasnost and perestroika, but instead of renewal, these loosened state control. In 1991, republics from the Baltics to Central Asia declared independence. After a failed coup against Gorbachev, the Soviet Union formally dissolved in December. 15 independent states replaced it, with Russia recognized as the legal successor. Manchukuo. Manchukuo was established in 1932 after Japan seized Manchuria from China. Officially, it was presented as an independent empire, with Puyi, the last emperor of China's Qing dynasty, installed as its ruler. In reality, Manchukuo was a puppet state controlled entirely by Japan's Kwantung Army, which dictated every political, military, and economic decision. The territory was rich in coal, iron, and farmland, making it a vital resource hub for Japan's expanding empire. Japan industrialized the region rapidly, constructing railways, factories, and military bases, while exploiting local populations through forced labor and land seizures. Though Manchukuo had its own flag, currency, and ministries, Japanese advisors held the real authority. Internationally, recognition was minimal. Outside of Japan, only a few Axis-aligned or neutral states acknowledged its legitimacy. The League of Nations condemned the invasion and refused to recognize the state, leading Japan to withdraw from the organization in 1933. Manchukuo lasted until 1945. The Soviet Union invaded during its campaign against Japan, quickly dismantling the regime. After Japan's surrender, the territory was returned to China, ending the puppet state's existence. Vichy France. Vichy France was created in 1940 after Germany's rapid defeat of France. While northern and western region were directly occupied by German forces, the southern zone was allowed to function under a French administration based in the spa town of Vichy. Marshal Philippe Pétain, a hero of World War I, became head of state, presenting the new regime as the legitimate continuation of France. In practice, Vichy was a puppet regime. German authorities dictated major policies, and French leaders collaborated to maintain limited autonomy. The government introduced authoritarian controls, aligned its economy with German needs, and passed anti-Jewish laws even without direct German orders. Thousands of Jews were deported to concentration camps with Vichy's cooperation. The existence of Vichy France divided the nation. While it collaborated, General Charles de Gaulle led the Free French movement from London, rallying colonies and resistance forces. By 1944, Allied forces liberated France and the Vichy regime collapsed. Its officials were arrested or tried, and the French Republic was restored. Vichy remains a symbol of collaboration and betrayal during wartime occupation. Slovak Republic. The Slovak Republic, also known as the First Slovak Republic, was created in March 1939 after Nazi Germany dismantled Czechoslovakia. Under pressure from Hitler, Slovak leaders declared independence, but sovereignty was limited. Josef Tiso, a Catholic priest, became president, though real power rested with Berlin. German troops were stationed in Slovakia, and the state's foreign policy was tied completely to Nazi objectives. Economically, Slovakia supplied raw materials and served as a staging ground for German military operations. The Slovak army joined Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939 and later contributed troops to the Eastern Front against the Soviet Union. At home, the government aligned with German racial policies. Anti-Jewish legislation stripped rights and property, and between 1942 and 1944, thousands of Slovak Jews were deported to Nazi camps with active collaboration from Slovak authorities. In 1944, the Slovak national uprising sought to overthrow the puppet regime, but German forces crushed the rebellion brutally. By 1945, with Germany's defeat, the Slovak Republic collapsed. Slovakia was reintegrated into a restored Czechoslovakia, ending the state's brief existence. Independent State of Croatia. The Independent State of Croatia, or NDH, was created in 1941 after Germany and Italy dismantled Yugoslavia. Led by the fascist Ustaše movement, it ruled Croatia and Bosnia under Axis supervision. The NDH carried out brutal ethnic policies targeting Serbs, Jews and Roma, with mass killings and deportations. Despite its flag and government, it functioned as a puppet of Germany and Italy, until collapsing in 1945. Wang Jingwei regime. In 1940, Japan established the reorganized national government of China, commonly called the Wang Jingwei regime, based in Nanjing. Wang, a former Kuomintang leader, defected and headed the puppet state. Though it claimed to represent the Republic of China, it had no real sovereignty. Japanese authorities controlled its army, economy and diplomacy. Lacking broad recognition, it ended with Japan's defeat in 1945, leaving Wang remembered as a collaborator.